I will start by introducing the committee members and staff. My name is Tom Plamondon, and I am the chair of the committee. The remaining members are as follows. Daniel Lajeunesse is the vice chair, Steve D'Angeli, Michelle Boyer, Linda Duringer, and David Mango are other members of the committee. The secretary treasurer is Prashanthi Manoharan. The planner this evening is Matthew Peverini. Good to see you, Matthew. And the planner, the manager of planning and development is Anna Enriquez. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the Town of Aurora website and through staff at the town's planning department. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form available through town staff. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the application or applications, and then the applicant or agent will then be given an opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and must provide this information to the secretary treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete the appropriate form, again available through the secretary treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting and they will not be noted in any manner or at any time. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentation shall be made. If you do require any technical assistance with your presentation, please let me know. If you wish to speak and are currently following this meeting on YouTube, you will need to turn off this feed as there is about a 2-minute lag between the YouTube feed and the live feed. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to any question or comments should the committee feel that it is appropriate. So tonight's meeting will now commence, and I will look to the committee for approval of the agenda. David, yes. And David, you'll need to take your mic off of mute. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. David, go ahead.
Yes, I said yes, I move.
Thank you. Okay, we heard you that time. Seconder. Thank you, Stephen, and all in favor. Great. I'll now ask the committee if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. So if you just shake your head, and I don't see anybody nodding up or down, so that's good. Thank you. All right, moving on to 3. I'll look for a committee member to approve the minutes of March the 11th, 2021, being meeting number 2103. Linda, go ahead, take your mic off of mute. Actually, sorry, Linda, you can't. I need, because you were an observer at that meeting, I'm going to need somebody from the meeting itself to go ahead and do that. So Michelle, please.
Yeah, through you, the chair, I do approve the minutes of the meeting.
Thank you. Seconder, Stephen, thank you. Call the question. All of those in favor of the minutes as circulated. Thank you very much. That carries. Wonderful. All right. Moving forward with presentation of the applications for this evening. The first one is Whitwell Developments Limited. And that is Smart REIT Aurora North 2 Inc. And this is a consent. So it's consent item 2021-07. The applicant is seeking provisional consent to establish a lease for a period of time exceeding 21 years on the subject property. So the purpose of the application is to establish a lease for a period of time exceeding 21 years on the subject property. The lease will apply to the existing financial institution building and associated drive-through facility at the southwest portion of the property currently occupied by the Toronto Dominion Bank. And so looking at planning comments based on a review of the Planning Act criteria, staff have no concerns with the requested consent application. The proposed consent application does not include any physical changes to the property and will not impact the existing buildings, driveways, parking areas, or landscaping. And additionally, the subject application is not expected to adversely impact surrounding land uses. Additional comments from the building division. Preliminary zoning review was completed on January the 21st, 2021. And the purpose of this consent application is to grant a 21-year lease to the TD. The TD's current use of financial institutions and drive-through facilities complies with the provisions of the zoning bylaw. Engineering division, no concerns with the application. Legal services, no comments. Operational services have reviewed the documentation for the property associated with the above noted application and have no formal comments regarding the consent. Central York Fire Services, no comments received at the time of the writing of the report. York Region has reviewed the consent application, has no comments. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, based on review of the submitted information in support of the application, it is determined that the proposal is generally consistent and in conformity with the natural heritage and natural hazard policies of the applicable provincial and regional plans. As such, they recommend that any approval of this application for consent be subject to a number of conditions, being that the owner shall pay all development fees to the LSRCA in accordance with the approved fees schedule under the Conservation Authorities Act. And Electric Utilities have reviewed the proposed consent application and have no objections to its approval, subject to a number of standard conditions, some of which apply to signage, some of it to construction, which has already taken place, and then any construction that would have had an effect on any of the utilities. There are conditions in Appendix A for this application, and they are listed 1 through 5. Is the applicant with us this evening?
Good evening, Chair and committee and members. My name is Raphael Romero of Toronto. I'm a planner with Billing Consulting Limited, the authorized agent working on behalf of TD Canada Trust. I've reviewed the draft conditions of approval and have no further questions or concerns. I believe the chair has pretty much covered everything that I needed to say in his presentation, and I welcome the floor to any questions, the floor to any questions or concerns the committee has.
Thank you very, very much, Raphael. And nice to see you again, by the way.
Nice to see you.
And I do not believe that there are any delegations from the public who wish to speak to the committee on this application. So I'll turn to members of the committee. Are there any comments or questions to the applicant on this application for consent? Yes, David, go right ahead.
Yeah, just to say, I don't have any comments.
Oh, thank you very much. And Michelle, yeah, thank you for popping back over. And I see lots of heads shaking. No, I will look then. I have no comments either. So I'll look to the members of the committee for a motion. Stephen, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve consent application C-2021-07 Whitwell Developments, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix A of the staff report.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I'll look for a seconder, please. Yes, Daniel, thank you. Call the question. All of those in favor of the motion as presented, and that carries. Thank you very much. Raphael, you get to enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope you can get outside.
Yeah, thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Second item for the committee this evening is another consent application. This is for 36 Victoria Aurora Incorporated, and this is at 36 Victoria Street in Aurora. The consent file is C-2021-08. The purpose of this application, of this proposed consent application, is to sever a portion of the subject lands to facilitate a lot addition for the abutting property at 16 Mosley Street in Aurora. The applicant is requesting provisional consent to sever a portion of 36 Victoria Street, Part 2, to be added to 16 Mosley Street, Part 3. So this applicant is proposing to sever the parking area being Part 2 from 36 Victoria Street to add to 16 Mosley Street being Part 3. The existing dwelling will remain on the retained parcel, Part 3. No physical changes are proposed to the subject property. So in the official plan, 36 Victoria Street and 16 Mosley Street are both designated stable neighborhoods in the official plan, which provides for single detached dwellings. With regards to zoning in 2018, I feel we should mention this. In 2018, the Committee of Adjustment granted a minor variance approval to permit a daycare facility on 16 Mosley Street. So going through planning comments, planning staff consider the application to be in conformity with the official plan. And staff are satisfied that the application conforms to the provincial policy statement, official plan, and all relevant policies. Planning staff have reviewed the applications with respect to section 51-24 of the Planning Act as amended, and consider the proposed severance to be appropriate within the context of the neighborhood and have no objection. It does indicate the last paragraph in the staff report before the additional comments, it does indicate that if it should be noted that if the owner decides to redevelop the parking lot in the future, It will require site plan approval to ensure the development will not adversely impact surrounding properties. I know that has been subject of an email that we did receive from a neighboring property owner. So I feel that that did get picked up in the staff report. Other departments and agencies, Building Division preliminary zoning review was completed on March 9th, 2021. Engineering Division, no concerns with the application. And that was in an email dated March 26th, 2021. Operational Services, York Region has no comments on the application. I'm not sure that pertains to York Region. That comment comes under the title of Operational Services. So there may be a mistype in there. I'm not totally sure. We may be able to get staff to confirm that in a moment. Central York Fire Services, no comments have been received at the time of writing the report. York Region has no comments on the application. It refers to a different dated document, March 26th, as opposed to March 29th. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority has no comments received. And Electra, no concerns on the application. So in the conclusion, staff have no objection to the approval of the consent application, subject to the conditions. Is the applicant with us this evening?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Good evening, sir, and welcome. If we can have your name and your address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Claudio Belvino from the Agora Research Group. We're land use planners or market analysts. And the address is 311 West Ridge in Kleinburg, Ontario.
Thank you very much. And do you wish to make a presentation, sir?
Yes, it's a very brief presentation, so just give me a few minutes. So, we represent the registered owners of 36 Victoria and 16 Mosley Street. The proposed severance is requested to facilitate the formal addition of the parking area at the rear of 36 Victoria with the 16 Mosley Street property. The parking area at the rear of 36 Victoria has been an integral part of 16 Mosley for close to 20 years, ever since the special zoning permission was granted back in 2000. I see that the slide is up. So the owner is seeking consent to sever the rear portion of 36 Victoria, which is referred to as the parking area, identified as Part 2 or the severed piece on the reference plan, and merge the severed lot with 16 Mosley Street, which is identified as Part 3 on the reference plan. That's the hatch marks on 16 Mosley. The existing dwelling on the front portion of 36 Victoria, which is Part 1, is the yellow shaded lot, will remain as is, and there will be no physical changes to any of the lands on any of the parts. Also, the owner is not proposing any alterations to the exterior of the existing buildings on 36 Victoria or 16 Mosley Street. The parking area identified as Part 2 was built with the landscape buffer and fencing along its perimeter in accordance with site plan approval back in 2000. The proposed consent does not impact surrounding land uses, given that existing conditions on the properties will not change. We understand that there is a letter of opposition from the owner of an adjacent property located at 15207 Yonge Street, complaining about drainage issues related to the parking area. The letter did not identify where on the property drainage was causing a problem. However, as part of the consent application submission, a topographic survey was provided to the town showing existing conditions, which included grading elevations from the owner. And the staff report clearly states that the engineering division of the town has no concerns with the applications with respect to servicing or drainage. We would also like to add the following. The parking area was built in 2000 under a special zoning permission. The site-specific bylaw allowed the construction of 7 parking spaces, including a landscape buffer and fencing along the perimeter of the area in accordance with the site plan approval. The adjacent owner has had over 20 years to voice his concerns that drainage was a problem and request the town's engineering division to look into the matter. Furthermore, in 2018, as you mentioned, the Committee of Adjustment granted minor variance approval to permit a daycare facility on 16 Mosley Street. At no time through the entire approval process did the adjacent owner raise any concerns regarding drainage. We have seen no grading plans from the adjacent owner showing where the impact is occurring, nor have we seen any pictures of the drainage impact. As the parking area is under site plan control, if there are any issues related to drainage, the complaint should be sent to the engineering division for resolution. The Committee of Adjustment, in my opinion, is not where the drainage complaints are resolved. So we have read the staff's report and are in agreement with staff zoning assessment along with staff's land use planning comments. We also note that there was no comments and no concerns from any internal or external agencies. We agree with staff's conclusion in that the application conforms with all relevant policies of the town's zoning bylaw, town's official plan, and Ontario provincial policy statement, and that staff have no objections to the approval of the consent. We further agree with staff's recommendation for approval of the consent to include all the conditions outlined in the staff report. So thank you for your consideration. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bellonat. I appreciate that. And just for the record, I was part of the Committee of Adjustment back in 2018, and I remember this application, mostly from actually this one now coming forward. It did jar my memory, and I did recall it once I saw the application. I'll ask if, my understanding is that there are, aside from the letter or the email that we received, those were the only comments from the public. I believe that you have addressed that in your presentation, actually, Mr. Bellonat, so I appreciate that. There is no one, I believe, from the public this evening, Bersanthi, if I can just get that reconfirmed.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, we have no members of the public, and that's the timer for the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, we have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I will turn it over to members of the committee for comments or questions. And yes, Michelle, go right ahead. Thank you.
Just needed to unmute myself. So yeah, through you, the chair. And I had the same, question about the drainage as well. And you clarified very clearly and nicely in your presentation. And having checked with the town earlier today after receiving the letter, reviewing it myself, I also feel comfortable that the due diligence was made on the drainage issue or question. And I don't see that it needs to be included in this discussion in terms of the actual consent. So I just wanted to comment on that, Tom.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? David, yes, please go right ahead.
So my question is to staff, the planning staff, and it's just for confirmation. Since the lot area now has increased, have you checked at the ratio of the building area to the total ratio of the property that it conforms to the zoning bylaw?
Through the chair, yes. It's identified in the staff report as well that no zoning non-compliance is present with the proposed severance application for either lot. Okay. So I have another one, just a comment about drainage. Since this has been flagged by, this is just my proposal again to staff. And of course, it's not part of this application. I just want to emphasize, it's not part of this application. But the fact that we have heard a query from another owner, I would suggest to staff, separate from this application, to contact the bylaw enforcement officers to just see and confirm. That's how minor variances issues come about. Planning staff may not have gone to the site. It's now raining. It's the right time to go there and check and confirm if it's really, there's no drainage issue.
So here I'm commenting just as a resident, having experience in many other different places where the planning staff may say there's nothing because they've not looked at it. They only remember about when the site plan was approved, but things change. And usually the enforcement officers are the ones who go out to site and verify issues. So I would just suggest to planning staff that maybe they would mention that to enforcement officers or enforcement bylaw officers to just check to confirm so that there's no conflicts between the adjacent owners. That's just my thought. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that, David. I think the complaint that came forward would have gone back through staff as well. And I think the comment that we received this afternoon did cover it off. It addressed it. And so my understanding is that through the original site plan process, there would have been conditions there. And I think that that was covered off in the presentation that was made by the applicant's agent. Just for staff, Matthew, if you don't mind, I'm not sure that I had it right or wrong in the staff report. Under the additional comments, when you go down to the section where it says operational services, and then you go to the comment, it's York Region. Should that have been town staff in that?
Through the chair, yes. I just confirmed right now that operations had no comment on the application or no concerns.
Okay, great. That was, yeah. And believe it or not, I didn't catch that until I was going through it. And I've read this about 2 or 3 times and I still didn't catch it until this evening. So there you go. So appreciate that. All right. Any other comments or questions or concerns on this application? And seeing none, I'll look to the committee then for a motion on the application. Daniel, please go right ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I move that we approve C 2021-08 as outlined, including the conditions as set in Appendix A, which are numbered 1 through 4.
Thank you very much. I'll look to the committee for a seconder on that motion, please. And Michelle, I see your hand up. Thank you very much. Calling the question, all of those in favor of the motion as presented. And I see everybody's hand up. So, okay, that carries. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Ballonat, this committee has approved the consent application, and I thank you very much for your attendance here this evening and wish you well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. This is a minor variance application for 45 Steeplechase Avenue. It is file MV 2020-25. In this application, the owner is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to permit the development of a detached garage and 2 building additions to the existing 2-story single detached dwelling. And the following relief is being requested. A, section 14.1.2 of the zoning bylaw states that no development or site alteration shall occur on that part of said lot that is within a key natural heritage feature without an amendment to or relief from the zoning bylaw. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 2-story additions and a detached garage on the lot. B, section 14.1.3i of the zoning bylaw states that no development or site alteration shall occur on that portion of said lot that contains a minimum vegetation protection zone without an amendment to or relief from the zoning bylaw. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 2-story additions and a detached garage on the said lot. C, section 14.1.4I of the zoning bylaw states that no development or site alteration shall occur on that part of said lot that contains a significant woodland without an amendment to or relief from the zoning bylaw. The applicant is proposing to construct two-story additions and a detached garage on said lot. Moving through the staff report. Worth noting, staff in consultation with the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority have reviewed the NEH and are satisfied with its findings and recommended mitigation measures. So this is the special report that was prepared. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variances is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan. With regards to zoning, all proposed development is in accordance with the applicable ER zone standards. Staff are satisfied that the proposed variants meet the general intent of the town's zoning bylaw. With regard to the desirability and appropriateness of the development, staff are satisfied that the proposed variances are considered desirable for the appropriate development of the property. And in terms of its variances being considered minor in nature, no adverse impacts on environmental features or neighboring properties is anticipated as a result of the proposed development. So staff are satisfied the proposed variances are considered minor in nature. Other departments and agencies, Building Division preliminary zoning review was completed on November 12th, 2020. Engineering Division have reviewed the application with no objections. Operational Services indicates there are trees situated on the subject property in proximity of the construction. Documentation notes that trees will not be require removal. However, the trees will need protection as they are in proximity of the proposed works. Staff recommend that the committee impose condition 2 in Appendix A in the event that this application is approved. Accessibility Advisor, no comments. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, based on their review of the submitted information in support of the application, it is determined that the proposal is generally consistent and in conformity with the natural heritage and natural hazard policies of the applicable provincial and regional plans. As such, they recommend that any approval of this application for minor variance be subject to the following condition: that the owner shall pay all development fees to the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority in accordance with the approved fee schedule under the Conservation Authorities Act. And then Electra Utilities have reviewed the proposed variance application and have no objections to its approval, subject to the standard comments with regards to there's signage, billboards, other structures, and that during the construction, that the customer will be responsible for 100% of the costs associated with Electra making the work area safe. And again, at the cost of the applicant if there are any relocation works. And Legal Services, no comments on the proposed minor variance. And conditions are found in Appendix A, and they number 1 through 3. Look for the applicant or agent this evening. Good evening and welcome. If I can get you to introduce yourselves.
Sure. My name's Admiral Fareed Ahmed. This is my wife, Kim Ahmed, and we're the residents at 45 Steeplechase Avenue in Aurora.
Good evening and welcome.
Evening.
Hello.
And do you wish to make a presentation?
No, actually, not at this time. We didn't really have anything prepared. I'm sorry.
Well, that's that's fine. There's no requirement for you to make one. I believe the application that you have submitted is fairly well detailed. So
Right.
I think we have the information before us that we would need. I do not believe that there is anyone here from the public this evening, and I don't believe we have received any comments in writing. So I will then look to the members of the committee if there are any questions or comments on the application. Steve, yes.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. I just have one confirmation. I have read the staff report. I've seen the site drawings, and actually I took a quick visit out by your property this afternoon. You weren't there, but so I've seen the property. I'm familiar. I see in the staff report, the natural heritage evaluation, that none of the key natural heritage feature, being the significant woodland, will be affected, and that the construction will all be contained to the existing area of disturbance. And I just want to confirm that that's the case here tonight.
Yes, that is the case. Correct.
Okay, perfect. That's all from me, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Michelle, did I see your hand up earlier there? Yes, please go
Yeah.
right ahead.
Yeah, it actually continues on Steve's question. So since the question has been answered, but I will add a comment that it does look like the additions as well as the garage are within the Armorstone peripheral. So you're staying within that zone that's already been built up, and you're not going into the back.
No.
Correct. Okay. So that's that. Yeah. So from that perspective, I'm fine with this. I just wanted to make sure, again, there was no disturbance in anywhere else on the property.
No problems.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Daniel, go right ahead, please.
Perfect. Thank you through the chair. Pretty much a continuation on the questions from my colleagues. If I'm comparing the basic drawing, or sorry, the basic drawing that was provided in the kit versus a Google satellite imagery, the new front addition, as it's titled on the image, if I'm reading this correctly, it would be flush with the extension on the left-hand side, correct? So it would not actually protrude more from the existing structure than it is today?
It may protrude by 2 feet further than the garage line.
Further than the garage line.
It's, in fact, it's going, if you look at our front steps, because it's underneath the roof, we're going out as far as the furthest step, which I think is about 1.5 feet, 2 feet out, I think.
And that actually explains it. Sorry.
No, it just
that explains it, because I can't see I can't see that it's actually open, but what you just said makes a lot of sense. So I'm actually good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, through the chair. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, David, please go right ahead.
Just to say, I don't have any comments.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We appear to be very crystal clear this evening. We're wow. I like it. Linda, are you okay with this application? Just remember to unmute your mic when you do.
Right. No, I have no issues with this. I think it's well, because it's within the Armorstone retaining wall. Everything's within that, and the actual changes aren't huge. So to me, it's fine. I have no other comments.
All right, terrific. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think when we're working within areas that have special designations, you tend to try and make sure that although the final product and the construction itself is going to be contained within a prescribed footprint, you're kind of got to stay on top of the contractors themselves so that they don't spill staging materials or heavy equipment or whatever they're using outside of those areas that could potentially damage existing trees and what have you. But I think in reading the report, any mitigation measures have been certainly well identified that will take care of any of those occurrences. So with that, I'll look to the committee then for a recommendation on this application. David, please go right ahead.
Through the chair, I move that this minor variance application, including all the specific applications, they are approved subject to the conditions in the staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look to the committee for a seconder on that motion. Linda, thank you very much. All of those in favor?
Oh, that's great, guys. Thank you very much. We're really excited about getting this done. So thank you very much.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much. And again, we'll wish you a very pleasant evening.
Thank you, and all of you. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. So moving forward.
Through the chair, I don't think you actually formally said that it carried. I don't know if that needs to be.
It should be, and thank you very much on that point of order, Daniel. So that does carry unanimously. Thank you. All right. Fourth application this evening. This is a minor variance application. The civic address is 6 Aurora Heights Drive. And this is minor variance MV 2021-08. And there is a related planning application. It is SPR 2021-01. The owner applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the development of a 2-story detached dwelling. The following relief is being requested. A, section 24.497.3.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3 meters beyond the main rear wall of the adjacent dwelling. The applicant is proposing an interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters. B, section 24.497.3.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3 meters beyond the main rear wall of the adjacent dwelling. If I can ask the applicant to just mute your microphone for a second, please.
No problem, sir.
Sorry.
Thank you. So continuing in B, the applicant is proposing an interior side yard setback of 1.6 meters. C, section 24.497.3.3 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum lot coverage of 35%. The applicant is proposing a lot coverage of 35.4%. And D, section 24.497.3.3 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum gross floor area of 370 square meters. The applicant is proposing a gross floor area of 387.4 square meters. So planning comments. At the very top of planning comments, staff in bold indicate that variances A and B do not meet the general intent of the official plan. Variances C and D do meet the official plan, do meet the general intent of the official plan. So the property is located, the subject property is located in a designated stable neighborhoods. The new dwelling will be, in the staff report, will be incompatible with the established building pattern within the Aurora Heights neighborhood without adequate building side yard separation, which will impact the measure of privacy between neighbors. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that variances A and B do not meet the general intent of and purpose of the official plan. Further, the requested variances for increased lot coverage and gross floor area will facilitate the development of a new two-story dwelling that is generally in keeping with the low-density residential character of the neighborhood. A site plan application is currently under review where matters of massing, appropriate transition, etc. are being reviewed. Staff are of the opinion that variances C and D meet the general intent of the official plan. Variances A and B do not meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Variances C and D do not meet the general intent, do meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Or just repeat that, they do meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. It is the opinion of staff that the requested side yard variances do not meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw, which seeks to address privacy and shadowing concerns for the neighboring outdoor amenity space. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that variances A and B do not meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. The requested variances for increased lot coverage and gross floor area will not be visible from the street and are not anticipated to create any significant impacts on the streetscape or abutting properties. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that variances C and D do meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Variances A and B are considered not desirable for the appropriate development of the property. Variances C and D are considered desirable for the appropriate development of the property. So staff are concerned that variances A and B will not provide adequate area for landscaping between the properties, as well as adversely impact the existing root systems. Staff are of the opinion that variances A and B are not considered desirable or appropriate development of the property. The requested lot coverage and gross floor area variances will not have adverse impact on the streetscape, the neighborhood and abutting properties. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that variances C and D are considered desirable for the appropriate development of the property. Variances A and B are not minor in nature, and variances C and D are minor in nature. And again, the requested side yard setback variances do not provide sufficient space between the adjacent properties to address potential privacy and shadowing concerns. The removal of the trees on the east side of the property further provides further impacts. Staff are of the opinion that variances A and B are not minor in nature. The minor lot coverage and gross floor area increase will have minimal impact on the overall scale of the dwelling. The property will continue to maintain sufficient outdoor amenity space with a sense of openness in the rear yard. As such, staff are of the opinion that variances C and D are minor in nature. Okay, other departments and agencies circulated, and the comments are as follows. The Building Division preliminary zoning review was completed on March the 11th, 2021. Engineering Division, no concerns on the application. Email dated March 26, 2021. Operational Services and Parks Division, please refer to recommended condition of approval number 2. And Central York Fire Services, no comments received. York Region has no comments on the application. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, no concerns with the application. and subject to the applicant paying development fees under Conservation Authorities Act. Electra, no objections to approval. Conditions are all outlined in Appendix A, and they go from 1 right through to 3 with a number of bullets. And I'll welcome the applicant and or agent this evening. And you can now turn your mic back on. And thank you for turning that off for me going through that. And before I'll ask for comments, I'll just preface the reason that I went through the staff report in as much detail as I did is to indicate and confirm that we have 4 variance applications, of which staff are prepared to support some with conditions and others, no, they're not prepared to support. So what I'll do is I'll welcome you. I'll ask you to identify yourself and give us your address, and please proceed if you do have a presentation to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wenqi Zheng. I'm the owner of 6 Aurora Heights Drive. My postcode is L4G2Y2W4.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. And before I start my presentation today, I would like to briefly introduce my background and myself. And my name is Wenqi Zheng. I'm the engineer manager in steel construction companies. And this project is my own property because we want to expand my house because I used to travel a lot, but right now I got married and right now it's good timing for me to settle down. And my current house is like a condo is too small, and we will have to more living space in the future for my future parents and our future kids. So because the cost saving issues and this presentation or the house design, and so far everything I did by myself. So there are no agent between us. So it's myself, I'm the designer, also the owner. So this is my presentation, and we can start right now. So next, please. So today we're gonna have 4 sections to let everyone go through my project and understand the logic and the reason behind this variance applications. So we have 4 sections. First one, next, please. So thank you for Mr. Chair. We already go through the data and statistics, so I won't spend too much time here. So next, please. So next. So actually, right now everyone knows we have some minor variance requests for the side setback from 3 meters to 1.5 meters. And next, please. And also we have a lot footage, and the GFA increased a little bit. And so I think they're all very minor. Next, please. So today I will focus on the reasons and the logics behind these applications. So we're gonna go through 4 subsections, topics today. First, master need and guideline requirement, and the feng shui and cultures. And also, I will answer some of the town's concerns in COA reports. Next, please. So first one, we have to express our need because why we want to apply have these applications for minor variance. We believe for our family, this application is a must and a need. So we have 4 sections here, 4 needs. First one is sunshine. The second one, orientation, personality, and the areas. Sunshine for sure, because wide like a lot size and the lot width will increase the exposure to the sunshine. And the orientation, because the south of this property is face the street line, and we try to maximize the value of the street line, our front elevations and the street landscape. Personalities, because we have some I researched their scientific studies and document articles to back me up actually. A wider and higher living space will help like people improve the way of their thinking and reacting to surroundings. And especially for the young generations, it will help them to have a better like personalities during their childhood. And all of this will have like a reference attached below. So if anyone interested, they can find more information online. And areas for sure, like we have a big families and maybe we need a bigger living areas. Next, please. So please look here. So because my wife and me, we are new immigrant to Canada, and unfortunately, both of us, we are single child to our families. So our parents at this current is still living in China, but they are almost 70s. So we cannot leave them just alone in China. So we have no choice. And in one day, we have to bring them to Canada to live with us. But unfortunately, right now, we have not enough, we cannot purchase a lot, more than one houses here because it's a huge financial burden to both of our families. So our parents and my parents-in-law in the futures will live with us together. And very soon we're gonna have babies. So 7 to 8 people will live under one roof. So actually the biggest concerns from myself and also the suggestion from my friends around me, they think that living with the parents and will have caused a lot of problems and conflicts. Especially for myself and my wife, because we are from totally different area of China. A lot of people think if we are Chinese, so we have same background or living habits, but actually it's not true. The difference between our families is even bigger than American and Canadian. I would say maybe Mexican and Canadian. There are a lot of difference here. So we're trying to minimize the conflicts between the multi-generations in the futures. So the tips and the suggestion my friends give me is everyone should have his own private, privacy there in the same houses. So we hope that my design is right now on the ground floor. We have a big, a gathering area for everyone can eating and living together. But on the second floor, everyone has his individual rooms. So actually everyone has his privacy there. And also in the yard outside, actually, because I want the wider lot sizes, so I can squeeze more room in the yard. So in the future, so we have more outdoor space for the outdoors events, not just for my family, also for my churches. So actually, we consider this is not we want actually. It's a must and a need for deep of our mind. Next, please. Next, please. So right now, look at my current survey report. My current setback to my neighbor property line is 2.2 meters. But as per the new bylaws, actually, my setback is going to be if I follow the bylaw, it'll be 3 meters. So right now, it's the front elevations will be narrower than current. It's seems not making very, very good sense right there. Next, please. So I took some pictures in my neighborhood and I found just so many new second floor buildings has been rebuilt. And it seems I took measure from Google Maps there. And it seems the town of Aurora already approved a lot of the buildings with a narrow setback. I cannot go to step on other property to measure by myself. So roughly I measured on the Google Map, but obviously all of them is even narrower than my request. Some is just 4 feet, 1.2 meters. And all of those, I guarantee all those houses, I cannot show their address, but all those houses is in stable neighborhood. We're all of them in the same neighborhood. Next, please. And also, as per the new the urban design guideline released by town of Aurora, and there's a request on a section 27, because my wife and me, we work in very far away. Our job, our office is very far away home. So we have to leave very early, especially in winters. So when no time for us to clean snow in very early. So we have to want to keep two car garages. But as per the new design guidelines, the front garage should not take up more than 50% of the width of main front elevations. That means usually the standard garage width is 20 foot. That means the new houses has to be minimum is have to be 40 foot. Otherwise cannot meet the request of on the guideline. Next, please. Also, I would like to say something about feng shui, and I'm not sure has everyone heard feng shui or this theory before, but for our Chinese, we really believe in feng shui. Feng shui is actually a Chinese tradition, like a theory about the surrounding and its impact on the people and their living space. So right now we can look at the my picture front elevations of, if you like, say, we rebuild the houses. Actually, this tree is very nice tree, and I spoke to Tom Ferrara, they want to keep these trees. And this tree right now I placed on my new entrance, on the left of my new entrance. Based on the Chinese feng shui theory, it's very good feng shui. We call it great dragon trees. It is a show, it means like a protection and nursing. And because we also believe fortune, luck, and happiness is like an invisible fruit. So there are no blockage, actually, those things can go through your houses directly without any blockage. So this design is always had very good feng shui theory on at the basis. Next, please. But right now, let's say if I narrow these houses as per the city request, like a 3 meter setback, then, and we want to keep 2 car garages, that means we have no choice, have to place these entrances just directly behind the trees. Then the trees changes to a very bad feng shui. We call it hard appearing sha. Actually, it's a blockage to all those like fortune, luck, and happiness. For in China's theory, it's very good bad feng shui. And also, if anyone interested, can click the link below and find more information. Next, please. And also, the design has also very ancient Chinese, like this geography theory behind it. Because just like the flat Earth theory in like Asian Europe, in our Asian China, our people all believe we have a round sky and a square Earth. That means the land we step on is a square, and the sky over our head is round. So square land in Chinese is the metaphor for stability and reliability. Same for the houses and the home. So if you look at the traditional and Asian Chinese building designs, actually all the houses and the buildings, we prefer to design in a square ones. A lot of people maybe think it's a little bit boxy, but for our Chinese, actually it's very good design. So if you look at the pictures I attached here, it's very typical Chinese buildings and designs. Next one, please. And right now we look at the front, like a front top to see the plans. So this right now, I want to keep the front elevation on the same line with my neighbors. And also the backyard, we also want to keep on the same line. But look, if I follow the exact 3 meter setback, what problem we're gonna have? This building is not a square anymore. It will be rectangular buildings. And also it's gonna squeeze our like a backyard space. And also we have a 3 meters like a side back. It's like we don't know what's using for like what we can use for those 3 meters. We cannot use anything. And also it might be increased because my backyard is going to be very far away from my neighbors. And also based on my quick calculation, it can maybe have a pass the setback in the yard. So I also maybe need another minor variance for the backyard setback. So right now my current, and also you can look the shape of my house is very similar to my houses, to my neighbors' houses. So actually, I think the current design is very good combination of Chinese for cultures and local cultures. Also, my wife and me, we believe our kids in the future definitely will be Canadian, but we still want to pass some Chinese traditions and cultures and to them. So we consider this house is also a gift from our older generations to our next generations. Next, please. So right now, let me answer some questions.
Okay, just so that you're aware, normally we, for presentations, I'm just going to remind you that we're pretty much out of time. In fact, we're probably a little over. How much longer do you think your presentation?
2 minutes more. Thank you. Sorry, sir. It's my first time to do the presentation in the COA, so it's very hard for me to control the time.
Oh,
and
okay.
I just need 2 more minutes.
Very good then.
Thank you. So right now, I want to answer some in like Tom's concerns in the COA report. As you just really said, actually, Tom has 3 major concerns. First one is protection, privacy, and the shadowing concern, and the removal of the trees. So right now, but we think it's not big concerns. First one, you can look at right now my floor print, actually for the second floor. So you can see on the side walls, actually, I just put a washroom there. So when we're using that room, actually, privacy is our biggest concern for ourselves. So actually, we don't want people to see from the windows, see ourselves in the houses, right? So actually, my plan is, next, please. So forest window definitely going to be used there. And of course, it's our concern too, to keep our privacy. So even like, if you want, we can even change it to fixed like a frost windows or change to sky windows. But I don't think the privacy should be a big concern. Next, please. And also, as per the bylaw in other cities like Toronto, Markham, Richmond Hill, they all request 1.2 meters. But right now, my request is 1.5, so still beyond their request. Next, please. And the next one is shadowing concerns. And actually, I did some simulation, some past simulation on several programs. Actually, I think it should not be that concerned because you can see this is the typical day during the winters. The sun always, the passage always on the south of the building on Aurora Heights Drive. That means actually the sun, there are no buildings will block the sunshine to my neighbors because the sun all the days is on the south of the buildings. And this have I run this simulation on different programs and same result. Next one, please. Also, I take some pictures in my neighborhood and you can see all those houses and their neighbor relationship there. I didn't see any blockage for the sunshine, and I think 1.42 meters is already good enough for the privacy and sunshine. But right now I have 1.5 and 1.6 meters is good enough. Next one. Then all the removal of the trees, I already have arborist report ready here. And my consultant told me I just need to plant another couple trees in my yard and good enough to make up the loss of the trees if I have to remove it. But right now it's not 100% removed, so it should be no concern to the town of Aurora. Next one, please. This section I will go very quickly, just to review the analysis. So we want to see how can my houses fit in this neighborhood. Next one, please. So actually, when we started our project, actually this is the house design we prefer. But as per the conversation with town of Aurora, we realized this house is too modern and maybe not good enough for this neighborhood. And because this neighborhood already identified as a stable neighborhood. So we have to keep asking myself the same question, how can I fit in this neighborhood? So that's my answers. We want to use the same elements already being used and existing in this neighborhood. We don't want to use some material never been used in this neighborhood. Next, please. So all this design gone. Next one. So we want to keep the same front line and the same back line. So make sure our building can line up with our neighbors. Next one, please. And also we want to use all the elements, like even the garage doors, you can easily find in our neighborhood. I'm not using any new doors, it's existing there. Next one. And same material, I'm using the material recommended in the design guidelines, red brick and the stone as a secondary material. And you can easily find the typical houses, several houses in this neighborhood. Next one, please. And also same recess and the same roof pitch. Every element you can find in my house, you can easily find others in this same neighborhood. And that's it. And sorry, I'm taking a little bit more time because I never expected previous applicants can go so fast today. I'm so surprised. I think I have to wait until 9. So I'm a little bit surprised and shocked. So sorry. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right. I'll just again reconfirm, Prashanthi, there is no one who has joined the meeting who wishes to speak from the public.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have no delegates for this application.
Thank you very much, Prashanthi. All right, members of the committee, comments and questions for the applicant. And we'll start with Steve. Steve, just unmute and away you go.
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. A few questions for you, Mr. Zeng. When did you purchase your property?
Back to 2015 or 16. I cannot recall exact date.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Stable Neighborhoods review that the town went through and the amendment to the zonings?
At the beginning, when I purchased this property, I was single, so I never expect to that time I have no plan to rebuild these houses because that time the bungalow is good enough for myself and my family. But after 5 years, right now it's 5 years, so right now I already get married and our parents gonna move to us and we're gonna have a babies. So our current condo right now is too small. So then last year's we looking in the market and the house's price is too expensive for us to afford. So right now the only option for us is to rebuild ourselves.
So the reason I asked that question, I understand that, and thank you for all the context that you've given us. I mean, it gives us insight into what you're planning. I think that you've done a lot of research and planning. One comment I will make is the application of the design guidelines is not for consideration of the Committee of Adjustment. We consider the planning and side yard setbacks, also issues of scale and the size of the building. So the reason I asked that question was because the town of Aurora went through the official plan and the designation of the stable neighborhoods is to make sure that any infill development, any new development is compatible with the existing neighborhood that's there. And the reason I asked that is there was a zoning amendment, if I'm not mistaken, on June 25th of 2019 that changed the zoning and introduced the gross floor area and obviously your lot coverage is part of that. So what we need to consider, I feel, is does the proposal fit in with your neighborhood? So my question to you, sir, is do you feel that your proposal fits in with the existing neighborhood, all of the abutting properties in terms of scale, in terms of size?
So right now, because I did I went through all the neighborhood houses by houses, one by one. So I already find a lot of buildings is being rebuilt there in the same neighborhood. I don't know when, I'm not sure when, but a lot of buildings is even wider and bigger than mine. That's for sure, because I have photos attached there.
Yeah.
And also because I said I know it's a building seems over a little bit GFA, but because we have this request, because we're gonna have a lot of people living together, and it's necessary for our whole houses. And let's say we have 3 families. So if you divide by 3, so each one, how many footage they have?
Yeah, I think you've touched on, through you, Mr. Chair, you've touched on, I think, a very important aspect, because prior to the amendment, the zoning amendment in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, through the permitted zoning, the zoning permitted a larger gross floor area. And so some of the houses that you have shown as examples, I I don't know for sure, but it sounds like you don't know when they were built, and they could possibly have been built prior to the zoning amendment that restricted the gross floor area to what it is today. And I visited your street this afternoon. And Rashanti, if I could trouble you to bring up the slide that showed the proposed development beside the yes, that's fine. I think there's a bigger one of the picture on the left there. Thank you. So, Mr. Zhang, when I went to your street and I looked down your street, your neighbor to the immediate, well, left as we're looking at it here, every single house, with the exception of the one on the corner, was a bungalow that I would say is probably under 1,500 square feet. And even going to the maximum permitted gross floor area and lot coverage, you're likely going to be out of character. And so I'm going to, personally, I do agree with the town on applications A and B. And with respect to C and D, my concern here, as I mentioned, is even going to what is permitted under the zoning will put you out of character, which is the intent of the staple neighborhoods. And obviously that's permitted. And so we don't have any say into that tonight. But I think your house is going to stick out. And even though C and D are minor in nature to what is permitted, it is, when I look at your street, it is a significant deviation to the existing developments there, the old developments. And I believe the examples that you're comparing against were probably built under a different zoning. And for that reason, and I appreciate all of the aspects that you brought to us tonight in terms of what your needs are, but we have to consider the community at large. There was a lengthy process to determine, to gather recommendations for how to approach stable neighborhoods. And that resulted in a zoning amendment to the zoning bylaw and this new gross floor area. And in my opinion, while I do agree that the variances that you're asking in C and D are minor, I think we would be setting a new standard that is extremely incompatible to your streetscape. And I took about 5 minutes driving around, and I could not find any houses in your immediate vicinity that would be larger or even comparable to what is currently allowed by the zoning. And I'll just ask you, once again, if you look at this picture, do you feel that your proposed house would represent stable growth for your neighborhood and is compatible to the other houses on your street?
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you for the questions. And I believe the answer is yes. Because if you look at the 44 Aurora Heights Drive, have you passed by that house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that house is even bigger than mine, and the setback of that house is already way much narrower than mine. And this week, today, I just checking the real estate agent like a record. Do you know how many houses are on listing right now in this stable neighborhood for the past month?
I don't know.
More than 40.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, the stable neighborhood is not stable, but actually people there is looking for changes too. So in the past 4 months, actually, I think the growth, like maybe you already heard, like the price market, the market is growing again, and it's booming again. So it's not right now. With all look at the current, maybe this year's actually, I would say, more changes will come into this neighborhood. And my houses right now it seems you considers actually is not compatible in this neighborhood. But if you look at this year's new changes, more new changes coming, you will see actually it's very good like examples for the future applications.
Yeah, it's, Mr. Zhang, through you, Mr. Chair, This is a challenge that I think that we see quite often in this committee of adjustment, that the people who move into these neighborhoods, designated stable neighborhoods under the official plan, have different ideas of what a house should be. And, you know, and what ended up happening years ago is the existing homeowners did not share the same opinion. And there was a large study done of how to have stable growth in these, incompatible growth in these neighborhoods that were built a long time ago. And through consultation with homeowners and through a consultation process with expert recommendations, we arrived at these new requirements. And I would say, sir, just because houses are for sale does not mean that the people who stay behind are comfortable with this growth. And we hear on a regular basis opposition to large developments in a stable neighborhood. And there are many areas in Aurora where this would be permitted, larger lots, and yes, potentially more costly, but that would be the appropriate development for those properties. And in my mind, this is not an appropriate development for this property. And personally, I do not support even what are minor adjustments, variances requested under C and D, simply because while I agree that they are minor, I do not believe that they're a desirable development for the property, an appropriate development for the property, or that the increase in gross floor area is consistent with the new zoning bylaw. And I am afraid that we will be setting a new standard and having a slippery slope. So if we approve this one and somebody comes along and then says, well, look at this house, I'm only going another 2 or 3% beyond that. And this is how we got to the situation that we're in today. So you've heard my comments. If you'd like to go forward with this variance, I think I've given you my thoughts. So thank you very much for your time tonight, Mr. Zhang. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And I think, Mr. Zhang, I think you've addressed my colleagues' concerns and comments from your perspective. So I can appreciate, in your presentation, how, as Steve has indicated, you've gone to an awful lot of work. I'll look to other members of the committee then for additional comments and or questions. Let me go to Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one of the interesting points that Mr. Zhang had made was that the existing footprint had a setback of less than 3 meters. And I just have a question to the town. Based on the existing footprint of the building that's on the lot, what are the side setbacks currently? And is through the new bylaw, is the owner going to be making his house narrower inside the current footprint? So I just wanted to just check and see what the current home footprint was looking, because I didn't measure.
So I'll just go to Matthew on this one. Matthew, on the application, it looks like the 2 side setbacks are 2.2 meters. That was on the application that was filled in by the applicant. Can we confirm that?
Through the chair, the west side is approximately 2.15 meters and the east side is approximately 6.5 meters.
6.5, right.
Okay, so it's the one side that is less than 3 currently.
Through the chair, yes.
And is that pertaining to item A or B in the application for the relief?
Through the chair, give me 1 second. Let me just scroll through. The west side is the 1.6, and the east side is the 1.5 request. So,
and which one is currently the 6 meters and the 2.2?
sorry, I'm just going through a couple screens. The east side is proposed at 1.5, and it's approximately 6.5 meters currently.
Okay.
And the west side is 1.6 meters proposed, while it's at 2.15 meters currently.
Okay. So even, and again, through the chair, just pontificating here, if the owner was to go to the proper 3.03 meters, we're moving this home over by 3 meters, given that there's 6 meters already. And on the other side, we're going currently from 2.2 to 1.6, where the requirement is 3 meters. Is that my understanding? Is that correct in my understanding? Okay.
Are you answer me or answer?
No, it's through
to the town.
Through me to the town. And I think that's correct,
Is
Michelle.
that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Because again, you know, we've seen to Steve's point, I mean, and I'm totally in agreement with Steve in his thought process on the stable neighborhood, and the fact that looking again down the streetscape, that this home, you know, does not meet the requirement in terms of fitting with the neighborhood. So clearly, you know, I'm with him on that. I'm with the town on A and B. I'm actually on the against all of these myself as well. I think that even though 35.4 is minor over the 35% lot coverage, but you know, one can build almost a 3980 square foot home, you know, to manage the family requirements, and that is a large home. That's, you know, almost 3 times the size of an existing home there today. In terms of the square foot meters being slightly over as well, again, 370 square meters is again, you know, almost 3 times the size of the current homes that are 2.5 to 3 times. But I guess my only question, again, through you, Mr. Chair, is on B then. Would there be an opportunity to go to the existing 2.2, given that that's where the current footprint of the house is?
Well,
Does
Michelle,
that make sense?
it's certainly an option worth discussing. You know, I just point out that on that side, the neighboring property then has a 1.99 meter setback. So the total separation between the two dwellings would be very close to, in total, 4 meters.
Okay. So they're pretty close. They're pretty close now, like at the 2.2.
Yes, we are. And you know, I was giving that one some thought myself. I appreciate that you've brought it up. Sort of acknowledging in a manner the existing house location and being able to potentially look at a reduction because of the structure that's there to be demolished, and albeit to go from a single story to a relatively high 2-story. But I'll leave that on the committee's table for discussion. And I'll go to I think Dave, did we answer or did we ask questions? Yep. All right. Thank you, Michelle. And so David, you had your hand up. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through the chair, I've got questions to the staff. And I have some sort of commentary to the applicant. To the applicant, I appreciate you have answered all of my questions
regarding the sunshine analysis you did was very, technical. And even the one about tree removal, you talked about the arborist to sort of address that. So with that, my question to the staff is, did the staff receive these analyses or reports from the applicant? One about the sunshine, one about the tree removal. If you could answer and elaborate on that.
Through the chair, no, we did not receive a shadow study or tree inventory removal plan or arborist report, sorry.
May I answer that question?
I think
yes, please.
we've had that asked. David, did you want to ask the applicant if he's done any further work on that?
Okay, so the question the applicant described the reports, the analysis, but I wanted to confirm if those analyses were submitted to the town staff to review, and the town have answered that they haven't received those. So to me, I see that as an issue, that there's a sort of no good communication between the applicant, because that information is always required to support the application. So that's an issue or a problem with the client. That's what I wanted to establish here, whether the town received or not. But we have got the answer that the town didn't receive those reports or analysis.
Okay, so Matthew, I think you wanted to add some clarity to that as well.
Through the chair, it was not received an arborist report was not received through this application, but I've just been made aware that it was received through the ongoing stable neighborhood site plan review application.
May I answer that questions?
Yes, please go right ahead.
Because I got some past simulations, because last weekend I received the COA report and I went through item by items. I found the shadowing concern in the report. So this weekend I did that research, that simulations, and spent my weekend doing this research. And it's never ever a request from the cities. If I know that the cities have the request, I will submit this report earlier. And even if the city want, I can submit after these COA meetings, I can submit more simulations. And also for the arborist report, because I spoke to the cities and they told me I can submit after COA meeting. It's not that very urgent, but the report is ready here. It's in my mailbox. If the city want, I can send it right away. Because it's not mandatory document for the COA.
I think what David was getting at in this case is, when you're making a presentation to the committee and you mention these things, if the town hasn't seen them, it likely means that we haven't seen them. So it's, it's hard to accept that you may have done the work. But if we haven't got the copies of the reports, it's hard to take that into consideration. Am I correct in that statement, David?
Yes, you are correct. You are correct.
Okay. Continue, David, if you've got other questions.
Yes, I still have, yes. So I have a question to the applicant, and I'm hoping maybe it was not required from engineering, because I was expecting engineering to comment. It's something about grading on the sites and the possible construction of swales to convey the water, the runoff between properties. I'm hoping that there will be some flows from your site, from the wall of the building, or from your maybe roof readers, something like that, and going somewhere. And usually between two properties, you usually have a swale to convey those flows. So the question: did you look at how the swales will be constructed, if any, or what is it you are proposing? What will be there?
Maybe because right now my project grade line is pretty leveled. It's very flat, but if necessary, I can make a drain on the property line.
Okay, so did you submission to the town for the building, did you provide any grading plan?
Yes, grading plan, yes.
Okay, so what does the grading plan, because we don't have any here. Did it show, I know it shows some sort of elevation. I'm seeing if maybe, I don't know, staff, I can see, are you able to show or upload the one of the drawings called the proposed set plan and the statistics? Are you able to do that? Basically, I'm seeing some symbols on the sides, which I'm not sure whether they are symbols for grassed areas or not. And even at the back, I can see the front and the back, probably landscaped areas. You see, in the report, you see the page number 5 from the back of the report. Yeah, this one here, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the reasoning, I want you to understand the reasoning. The reasoning is, would you have enough space to construct a swale to
yes.
flows?
Yes. 5 feet is good enough for any drains. It's good enough because other cities, and I spoke to some builders there, they only need like a 1 or 2 foot. That's good enough for them.
Okay, so I just wanted to confirm from you.
Yeah.
Lastly, I have a question to the staff, and I want you to really listen to this question and look at your notes carefully and be able to. So I don't need this drawing. So it's about the official. You on page 3 of 9 about the official plan. The statement there, which I want you to really look at it and interpret it to us. Okay. And I'll read the part, the official plan. It says the subject property is designated stable neighborhoods by the town of Aurora's official plan, which seeks to ensure that residential neighborhoods are protected from incompatible forms of development. While, and I'm starting while, allowing the neighborhoods to be enhanced over time. I'm emphasizing while allowing the neighborhoods to be enhanced over time. Further, the neighborhoods designation provides for single detached dwellings as a permitted use. Okay, so my question is, I want you to interpret or to explain to us what you mean by while allowing the neighborhoods to be enhanced over time. The reason I'm asking this is that as Steve showed, or even the applicant showed, how his house was a bit bigger than the others, a bit the neighborhood. Those are older houses. As people are changing the houses, they're changing the nature of the houses. As you're allowing neighborhoods to be enhanced over time, is that what you expect? And if that's what you expect, maybe are you expecting to still meet the zoning to be, for example, setbacks 3 meters? I want you to explain in this context of allowing the neighborhoods to be enhanced over time.
Okay.
So I want to open this. It's interpretive. So I'd like to let Matthew and Anna, if she wishes, to speak to this. I'll certainly allow staff more than just one. I know Sean Lapina, the planner on this file, is not with us this evening, but I'm going to assume that Matthew, you've had a chance, and I'm sure you're familiar with the OP. So maybe Matthew, if you want to just share your comments on that, and then if Anna, if you want to elaborate as well, please feel free.
Through the chair, so that that has to be read in whole, and the key word there is compatible in transition, and compatible in the official plan refers to development that may not necessarily be the same or similar to existing buildings in the vicinity, but nonetheless enhance an established community and coexist with development without causing undue adverse impact on surrounding properties. So while it doesn't have to be necessarily the same, it should be compatible. And that is the overarching goal of the stable neighborhood process. And there is, as a property owner, you do have the right to appear before a committee of adjustment to seek variances to the zoning bylaw.
Thank you, Matthew. Anna, did you want to add anything to that?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yeah, no, I agree with what Matthew's brought forward just now. I just wanted to add that, you know, to re-emphasize that the development doesn't necessarily have to be the same, and it's really about looking at the impacts. And ultimately, you know, the development standards and rights are established through the zoning bylaw. So, you know, at the official plan level, we're kind of looking at it at a higher level, whereas the zoning bylaw, we're getting into the details as to what can actually be built on the ground and in what form.
Let me just ask then a follow-up, David, if you don't mind, to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it's, I think Steve also touched on it. A lot of the thinking behind enacting the stable neighborhoods areas, and this doesn't apply to the entire city or town of Aurora, it's certain areas of the town, is in part reactions to streets finding themselves in these transitions, which involves either, you know, removing a house, as in this application, or taking a house down to the foundation and rebuilding it within the same foundation footprint, but certainly changing it from a single story to a two-story or like. And it came out of people in the community coming forward saying, hey, we've got concerns about it, because the changes were becoming a little bit more than the residents had an appetite for. So it is open to, and Matthew, you indicated, it's really in taking it into its complete context, more, is it compatible with the existing, and what impact would it have on mostly the immediate neighbors? Let's put that card on the table, and what they may or may not find desirable, and what they would have expected if they had bought the house, you know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or yesterday. That was why they bought there. This is what they got familiar with, and this is what they expect to see. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion, because there has been so much discussion about stable neighborhoods and what that really does mean. So David, I appreciate you bringing that forward and making that part of our discussion. So David, I'll turn it right back to you. Did you find that answer to your question acceptable?
Yeah, I would say 70-30%.
Okay. Okay. Let him just finish if he has any other questions, Mr. Zhang, and I'll give you an opportunity to reply.
Yeah, so the other one is just a comment. I'm following up a comment by Michelle, where she was trying to look at the setbacks which have been proposed and the existing setbacks. That was very, very good. I'm looking at the one which is shorter, which was not meeting the requirements, which is the 2.51 now, and the requirements are 3. So what was going in my mind was, what if he was going to meet that 2.5? It was, let's say 2.51, and the other one was 3 meters matching. How would the town would have approached that? Would have been grandfathering what is already there existing, then there's no issue, or could that be an issue?
Well, I think the answer to that, but Matthew, I'll let you speak to it. I think you lose those rights if you demolish the existing structure, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
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 Okay, that's it. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Zhang, if you want to reply to that one comment that was made with regards to the question that David brought forward on stable neighborhoods, please go right ahead. We'll give you that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So actually, I really appreciate Dave, and also I appreciate Anna to give me the comments. And I will answer David's comments. How can I keep my house competitive? What's that word? Competitive in this over the time. And because actually I have one more slide in my presentation, but I hope I never use it. But Shanti, can you go to the last page of my presentations? Last page. Okay. So actually, I did some research for the bylaws, and I found it's a little bit tricky. And today, I would like to give some example to everyone here. So look, the first pictures. Let's say this is a one-row house on the Aurora Heights Drive. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Those buildings. A, E, G, they are two-story buildings, and B, C, D, F, that's a single-story buildings. And right now, let's focus on those bungalows, B, C, D, F. Let's say they're all the same size, same lot size, same condition, houses as exact the same. So based on the cities, like a theories, actually, I think theoretical house values or land values, C is bigger than B equals D, bigger than F, because F has less privacy and less sunshine. Right, and C has very good to have neighbors and lower neighbors. But right now, let's say if the owner of B, C, D, and F, they all want to rebuild their house, what's going to happen? So let's say C, the property, the owner of a property C, for example, is me. Right now, if today's cities approve, let's say you have to follow the city bylaws and you have to have 3 meters setback. Then I build up the house just like the blue squares. This is the house I rebuilt after I rebuilt. So as per the city bylaws, actually my neighbors B and D, right now if they want to rebuild their house, how much they can achieve? They don't even need to go to COA anymore. They can rebuild the house with 1.5 setback immediately, because as per the city bylaw, like a city's bylaw, 1.5 meters. The 3 meters only applies if the main rear wall is higher than the neighbors. So C actually sacrificed himself to make B and D. They can have a narrow setback they don't need to go to COA anymore. And F have no questions. All the times he can rebuild with 1.5 setback, 1 meter setback. And C, let's say C think I'm so stupid. Why I need to rebuild right now? I want to wait. Then B or D, they cannot wait anymore. They rebuild their house immediately. So as per the city's bylaw, because B is the neighbor of the building A, so he can have 1.5 setback on the left. On the right, they have to keep 3 meters. After B rebuild his house, then C actually can you build up 2 floors with 1.5 setback on the left and 3 meters setback on the right. And D, after B, C, they have no limit anymore. He can build a house with 1.8 meters without any COA or with any minor variance. So right now we look at this from this perspective. So actually we find it so interesting because F can rebuild with 1.5 setback anytime. So actually his value or his actual house values is higher than anyone. It's not something we can control. It's marketing like a feedback. I already spoke this to some other peoples, and they all think that's true. Because for them, F without any conditions and limits. But B, C, D, they all totally depends on the height of their neighbors. So it's so tricky. I think that the bylaw want to be fair to any of the applicant and the resident in this stable neighborhood. But right now it's so weird because the house and all land values, it totally depends on the neighbors. So today's, if right now my application being rejected, let's say what's gonna happen? So tomorrow, actually, the values, let's say those reseconded, because this video is it's open to public. So if anyone watches this video tomorrow, the houses between just neighbor of those 2-story buildings, actually they realize they can rebuild the houses with 1.5 meter setback without any minor variance. The value of the house increased a lot right now, immediately. And like anyone like me, I'm the owner seat. Is a lot of people in this neighborhood, actually, they just realize, oh, I lost them because my value is lower than those people. So actually, I think it's just this bylaw have to consider too, because we want to be fair to every resident, and also this may make unfair in the future very soon, because this is the marketing feedback and it's not something we can control. I apologize because I don't have no plan to show this slide, so I put it on the last page just in case. But this is the research and the result I got after a couple months of study, the bylaw and the guideline. So I hope like a city can also consider these applications is also will show those will cause those like a consequence in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Zhang, can I ask, let me just ask you a question then. This last slide is a very interesting slide. Was that shown to staff as part of your application or as part of a follow-up to it?
I said at the very beginning, why the reason. Actually, I was in a dilemma in the past couple of weeks because this slide is ready a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But I'm not sure, is appropriate showing in the COA or, so I put in the last, just in case. At the beginning, I don't want to show them. The
reason I'm asking, because it is an interesting theory that if it had been put into the hands of staff and given the opportunity for them to actually qualify, that what you've given us is a demonstration of what could happen as part of an ongoing transition. We call it communities in transition. Because you've brought it forward, there's, again, no way for us to qualify that. It would have had to have gone to staff, and staff would have been in a position to say, by the way, as part of the application and part of the justification for presenting this as what could happen as part of a development through the process and meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw, this is a case that demonstrates that ultimately I might have been able to do this in the future or be a factor in our deliberations today. But having said that, I don't think that it's an interesting piece of information, but I don't believe it's something that we can accept as having been tested, if you follow my thinking on this. I know you didn't want to show it. You've shown it, and you've put an interesting theory forward as to what could happen on the street. That's not what we're dealing with today, however. So David, I should go back to you.
Yeah, so to the chair, what he has explained here is what I had in mind, and that's what that question in that, because how do you say this is a public forum? I've had similar situations, as you know, my job with different municipalities, such type of things, whereby at the moment there are bungalows, they are low, but people have all the interests to upgrade their houses to be better. So how do you compare? What is it now to stay as it is, or are you trying to advance?
Right.
to become better of the whole area. And that's why I was quoting that section of the official plan. I was asking, what does this mean? Allowing the neighborhoods to be enhanced over time. And I was emphasizing that. But anyway, I just want to comment that.
Yeah, thank you, David. Let me turn to Linda. You've been very patient at listening. I'm going to go to you and just see if you have any comments on the application.
Hi, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was listening intently and trying to understand and make sure that being fair and feng shui and everything else. But I've got to agree with what Stephen said about the commitment of being, out of character. It is out of character. I went on that street. The gentleman had mentioned 44 Aurora Heights or something. That's quite a way away from where he's located at number 6. All the ones in that immediate area, if you go for a walk, are all the same. This would be the first one on the block, like in that section. I gotta stick with it's out of character. It's not compatible with the rest of the homes in the neighborhood. And if he puts, I think the 2.2 is scrapped. Once you put a new house there, you've lost all your, anything to go back on because it's a new place. Now we're starting over, so you can't run back to what's been there or what you had or anything. I don't think that's anything to go through. So now you're really just doing a brand new house on this property that's so wide and so deep. And then now, because everything that you've quoted in the past has been prior to the stable neighborhoods of 2019, the bylaws, you're now in this new section of bylaws that you kind of have to agree, even if you can see one that's, out of sorts, or you think that I'm identical to that guy, that was approved at a different time when there was a different bylaw in place. And I think the stable neighborhoods is not a matter of how many people are moving in and out of it. It's just a matter of the consistency, what the landscape will look like. That's what all this was about, the stable neighborhood. They didn't want a hodgepodge all over the place of stuff. They wanted something a little more consistent, and just compatible. Anyway, that's really all. I took a bunch of notes. It's okay, but mostly what Stephen said, I have to agree with him on all that stuff too. But anyway, there's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Linda. Daniel?
Thank you, through the chair. The benefit of going, I believe, last is that most of the comments are of course, the fearless leader is overseeing there. Yes, I did want to repeat a few of those comments as well. And there was a few comments by Mr. Zhang that I also wanted to bring up. I as well did the drive and the walk and so forth. And yes, the 44, 45 property was a good half kilometer away, which was about 6 blocks, if I'm not mistaken. So there is that sense of there is a gradual growth to the area, and it's quite dispersed in terms of that growth. And to the study that was brought in that last slide, if it is the same one that I didn't really analyze, but looked at and engaged with a couple of years ago, there is an aspect of gradual growth that is part of that as well, meaning that as one home, the first home on that expands the size, the purpose, the value of the home, and it keeps growing in the neighborhood, and then it circles back to that first home who was first to sort of grow the neighborhood. It moves forward again and again, and there's a graduation that is inherent in that process. If it is the same study that I was involved with a little while ago. And then the last comment I wanted to make, as it was a comment brought forward, was a lot of properties being for sale on the street. And yes, I did see that, and we are seeing a lot of people taking advantage of the growth that we are seeing in GTA suburbia when it comes to moving up or moving away or within that suburban area. But rest assured that any new property owner does have to go through the same process that is brought forward here. And the official plan is the official plan. So if they wanted to rebuild, demolish, start over, or expand, they would go through the exact same process as what is going on here today. Those 3 meters, those measures that were put in place are meant to be standards. There are exceptions, and this is the committee in place in order to work with those exceptions. But this is not we're not looking at it as sales will create a free-for-all. The process remains the same. So I just wanted to address that, as it was one of the few things that was brought up that was not addressed at the beginning. So I think that addresses most of my comments that I won't repeat comments of others. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I will circle back one more time for the members of the committee, but I just have a couple of questions for the applicant, if you'll indulge me. Not part of the staff report, Mr. Zhang, but in your application, there is a basement drawing. And I'll just ask, at the rear of the property, you're showing, or at the rear of the house, you're showing a set of stairs that come down to what I'm going to assume is a basement level, and a set of double doors from the outside to the interior of your home. Is that intended as an entrance to the property, to the basement level?
It's not the main entrance. It's just entrance to the backyard. Because
from the back,
yeah,
from the backyard. Well, you above that though, you do have a covered wood deck, which would take me into the breakfast area from the back. Is that correct?
Yeah, the backyard is on the side of the workout, just beside it.
Right. So you've got an entrance from the back of the house into what would be the basement level. And then you've got an entrance to the back of the house at what would be the main level and into a breakfast area. I'm going to go back to the basement area then. You're showing a rec room. And then off of the rec room, you have a door into a room called the hobby room. In the hobby room, you have a door that goes into a WIC, which to me means a walk-in closet. So your hobby room is equipped with a walk-in closet. Then I go in towards the center area, and you either have a set of stairs that are going up, and opposite that, you have what appears to be a washroom. And then further down the hallway, you have double doors that go into a theater room or media room. And then next to that, you have a study. And then the only other space that's there is identified as a mechanical area. If I look at that, to me, it looks like either a private suite for either your family or your wife's family. Would I be correct in making that assumption?
First one, I have to apologize because I actually have no plan for my my basement, because my budget is not enough to cover the basement right now. Because it's first time for me to make the drawing, so I think I need to make something for the basement. So it's not like a final design for the basement. It's like I just copy of the samples which my friend gave to me, because I think I need to submit it. But actually, the basement will leave unfinished. So because in the future, in this year, we're not really out of money to finish. So actually, right now, I don't know what I'm going to use my basement for.
Okay. I go back to your application where you're saying that there could be 8 or more people living in the home. And I guess that does depend largely on how many children you have, and how many people end up coming from your family from outside of Canada. Let me go upstairs then. And when I go upstairs, I'm going to just forget the main floor, but I'm going to go up to the third or the second floor where the bedrooms are. One of the comments that you made in your application was, and I was keeping a very open mind and trying to learn a little bit. And your concern for your children and their well-being and their personality, and your comment about, well, things that are in the Chinese culture seem to be, in square in form, allow your children's thinking to be more creative and to be have a certain we'll call it an atmosphere that is more productive to building a good character. And I look at the space on the second floor, and I appreciate your comments about the sides with bathrooms. And I noticed that each room has its own individual bathroom. And so as a planner, when I'm looking at these types of floor plans and space and its use, I think to myself, when a municipality creates its regulations and someone comes before the Committee of Adjustment, it's usually because they tried to make it fit within the regulations of the community and they can't. And I don't see, even taking into your desire to make things square, these are all very generously sized rooms, where the hardship would be in coming to the committee and saying, I need an extra width in my hallways because I have a member of my family who is in a wheelchair and needs extra space to get around, or they have to have their own facilities that require more space. In your argument in coming to the committee, in suggesting that I need more space, I don't see it personally. I have a hard time rationalizing that. I appreciate feng shui. I don't profess to know a lot about it, although a lot of my friends say, well, Tom, your home is not very feng shui. And I go, well, I've been living in it for over 25 years and I think I'm okay. I could probably be better, but I struggle when I'm looking at yours here to see where the disadvantage in that property is such that we would need to reduce the side yard setbacks, down to the limits that you have requested. So I struggle with that. And in terms of the other comments that have been made, I have to agree with other members of the committee here. The only area that I can think of that would make any sense to me at this point would be to acknowledge the existing side yard setback and it's unfortunate, it's next to the neighbor who has a 1.99 meter setback. So if we reduced it to to the existing setback, it would mean that there would be basically 2 meters on either side of the property line. And even at that, I'm struggling with that. But if a motion were to come forward to allow the side yard setback on the west side to be reduced to the existing setback, I would probably support that. Otherwise, I am also at this point not in a position to agree with the applications. I actually will disagree with my colleagues on one point, though. When I drove by and I looked at the homes that you had included as examples. I went back to staff, and thank you, Prashanthi, for doing this and identifying the actual addresses because they weren't part of the original submission. 5 Algonquin Crescent is close enough. It's part of the same neighborhood. So I would say that, 5 Algonquin is in your neighborhood. 44 Aurora Heights, even that one I'm going to say is in the neighborhood. It has been rebuilt. And for the benefit of the members of the community, that house was actually subject to an order to demolish a number of years ago. The house had been left unoccupied, and there was some serious water damage. And the buildings department came along and they did an inspection, and it was ordered demolished. They were actually able to rebuild on the same foundation, and that's why that one is a little bit different from the rest of the homes on the street. 12 Sunray. I'm going to also suggest to you that Prashanthi checked into that one, and that's the only one of all of them that you have listed that was subject to another application. 36 Algonquin is also in your neighborhood, no question. So I would use those as comparables. However, using Google Earth to come up with 1.2 meters setbacks, I'm sorry, but you have to take that with a grain of salt, because if there were no survey drawings, no survey plans for those homes included in your application, they're great examples, but I don't know what those setbacks are. And it's, something that could possibly have been taken into account, but at least those homes, I will agree, were in your neighborhood. And I think that under the stable neighborhoods argument, we can anticipate, this committee has seen a number of requests that have come forward for the same thing as you're asking for, and but outside of stable neighborhood where those provisions don't apply. And I can tell you that those applications that have been brought before the committee haven't all passed either. So with that, I'm going to just park it there, with the exception, I'll go around our committee one more time. If anything that anyone has said that during the discussion that comes back to something that, that you want to bring forward, Steve, I'm going to certainly acknowledge you because you've listened to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And actually, a question for yourself, Mr. Chair, and forgive me if I've missed this, but those examples that you actually let me go to staff first and just ask staff to confirm my understanding. I mean, I have had some significant experience with the stable neighborhood process, but if I understand, or if my recollection is good, there was a bylaw on June 25th, 2019, that amended the zoning in stable neighborhoods to incorporate the recommendations of the stable neighborhoods study, and that introduced certain new requirements, zoning planning requirements at that time. Is that correct, Matthew?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct, and that is reflected. You'll see in the new zoning, the zoning characterized by the SN that precedes the zoning category.
Right. So a couple of further questions there, Matthew, if you will, through you, Mr. Chair. So these reduced side yard setbacks, are they in compliance with the old zoning, and or were they all subject to variance applications? And in order to have these smaller than 3 meters side yard setbacks, or were they compliant with the zoning at the time?
Through the chair, may I ask, are you speaking to the existing setbacks for the current house now?
For the current house and for the neighbor at 1.88, and I think if we go through the neighborhood, we do have certain bungalows that are closer than the 3 meters interior side yard setbacks, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, those were in compliance at that time, were they not?
Through the chair, I'm not specifically sure. It could have been for previous bylaws in a case where it would be legal non-compliant or legal non-conforming.
Right.
So it would be a proceeding, an existing proceeding situation.
Thank you, Matthew. And so I guess, so my point there, as I listen to everything, I think that to use existing side yard setbacks that are either legal non-conforming or, apply to 2 bungalows sitting beside each other, I think is very different. That post 2019, when a set of requirements came in for stable neighborhoods, I think to David's point, which was a framework that allows a building of almost, 4,000 square feet, right? And I think it's very different, at least in my mind, to have that separation between 2 bungalows and then have a bungalow beside a building that goes up. So to apply that and say that standard is acceptable in the past, as the neighborhood grows, the houses get bigger and larger in scale, and the shadowing concerns that I think the town has brought up get exacerbated if we consider, I think to the point that Anna brought up and Matthew brought up, I think it has to be read in its entirety. And I think that the zoning amendment that was made considered significantly larger houses, for in these neighborhoods. And in doing so, the setbacks were adjusted to take into account that there would be larger scale, larger massing on the street, and all of those impacts. The other point that, this is where I get back to you, Mr. Chair, and the examples that you stated that were given in the neighborhood. I think what's really relevant is when they were built and what zoning they were built under, right? So to compare, I think we can't forget that this was a significant hot button topic in the town of Aurora. And it took about 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, to be addressed, and for these new zoning requirements to come in. And and they were a compromise because I can speak from experience. A lot of people in these stable neighborhoods were not happy with where it ended up in terms of allowing this growth. And this is where I get to the comment of slippery slope. Like, this was a negotiated process. There was consultation, there were studies, and the zoning was amended. And it was amended on a broad scale. And I think, to your point, David, taking into account that these neighborhoods are going to need to grow. And I fully support those. But having said that, it takes into account the concerns of the existing residents. And I think that balance has already been taken into account. And to your point, Mr. Chair, if there's no hardship here, I have a tough time second guessing that 2-year consultative process and all the work that planning did in conjunction with the residents to now say, look, maybe we can apply some of the old zoning, the old setbacks, legal non-conforming, or try and anticipate what a large house will be like beside a bungalow, because that work has been done. And personally, I'm not seeing any reason to go even a little bit further than that, just because, and Mr. Zhang, I do understand your situation. I know I don't mean to sound callous here. I think you're doing a good thing. I think you've taken you've gone to great pains to look at your neighborhood to try and make something that fits in. But I think my observation here is a lot of what you're doing is looking at it from your perspective without the benefit of the history and all of what the community has said. And I'm more than happy, Mr. Chair, if Mr. Zhang wants to respond to that comment.
So, Stephen, thank you. Well, what I will do is because Mr. Zhang was given, typically it's a 5-minute presentation period. I think we're about 15 minutes in to the presentation, but in the interest of fairness and maybe in hopes that Mr. Zhang,
I apologize, Mr. Chair. I just felt that was a bit of a loaded, and I didn't want to.
No,
thinking, and I see that he raised his hand. So
yes, so the chair will recognize Mr. Zhang, but I want to just limit you in terms of time here, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to respond if you wish to the committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Steve, everyone. So actually, and to answer, I won't answer one by one. Actually, I have some answers for everyone's. So first one, like Mr. Chair, have a questions. Why have so many washroom on the second floor? Because actually, and there are 3-4 bedrooms on the second floor. So one is for my wife and me, one is for my kids, one is for my parents, and one is for my parents-in-law. And but the problem is they have totally different habits, totally different. My father likes to go to sleep late and wake up late. But my parents-in-law, they like to wake up very early and sleep early. So if they share the washroom, the big problem is they may be distributed by others. And very soon, right now we don't have babies, and in the future they have 2 babies. Is what are we gonna experience in the future very soon. And so actually, once individual in bedroom, just avoid the experience, and also good tips from my friends, because they suffer a lot when they put 2 parents living together. I know it's not very common for Canadians, but it's so common for our new immigrants. And those actually a lot of my some friends, because of those bad experiences, they have to divorce. And it's true and really happened. So right now if I have a chance, because I love my wife so much, and when I bought this property back to 2015, I think I'm gonna live alone for my life until I meet my wife. So this is not just like a house for ourselves; it's also a gift for my wife, because she trusts me. I have nothing at the back to that times, and right now I want to give her all I have and give a very happy life for her futures. And I will treat her parents as my own parents. So I don't want to be I don't want to have the same condition rooms. So that's why I put a 2 bedroom on the south, because as I explained, I do some past simulations. South room have a better sunshine. So those 2 rooms is gonna for my parents. And the first room on the north is gonna for my kids and ourselves. And also everyone have an individual life, won't be distributed by others.
Okay.
Also, and last question I want to answer, Steve, is also at this moment, that day, when I put I have no objection from my neighbors. And that days, when I put a COA sign in front of my yard, actually my neighbors just walk the dog, just past me and ask me what I'm doing. I explained to her, and actually I show my proposal on my phone to her and explain what I'm going to rebuild. She is so surprised I designed everything by myself. Even I'm not the architect, he said it's very amazing design. And he really likes the style there. And he thinks, okay, it's not that modern, but very common in their neighbor. And she wished me good luck. And I hope it's the major concern from the current residents is that right now a lot of the modern style coming to these neighbors, and it is too advancing for them. They like way more like a tradition. So right now I use all the elements in this neighborhood because I feel like it seems that's more concern for them. It's something they can accept. It's like the sizes of houses they can respect because they understand when you hear your story, they understand you have this need but just don't give them something actually visual shock. That's the most of their concern. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we've covered this item in great detail, quite frankly. I think everyone knows where each of us sits on this particular application. So I am going to look to the committee for a motion at this point on this application. Daniel.
Thank you, through the chair. As it relates to...
Let me just hold for 1 second.
Yes.
So we have four areas of the bylaw. We have staff who are clearly, on all counts of the application, objecting to A and B, and are not objecting to C and D. I think the general consensus, if I can just do a real quick summary of the members here before a motion does come forward. I think, Stephen, you are negative on all four. I think, Michelle, you are negative on all four. I think, Linda, you're negative on all four, if I'm not mistaken. And David, you're also negative on all four. I am negative on three, with the exception that on the, I'll call it the westerly side yard, I would be prepared to reduce that to the existing setback. But I wouldn't relinquish a 3 meters on the east side. So that covers me. Michelle, you're shaking your head yes.
Yeah, through you, the chair, I would support your amendment to B, to go to the existing setback, if that's
okay.
If that's what comes up in the
motion.
The motion, yes.
Which I doubt, but all
Okay.
right. Just for clarity's sake. So Daniel, I'll give the floor back to you, sir.
Okay, just based on these comments, I'm not, yes. So we'll see. So as it relates to minor variance MV 2021-08, I move that item A, B, and D be refused, while item C be accepted with appropriate and relevant requirements as set in the appendix be maintained.
So your motion, Daniel, is to accept an increase in lot coverage. Am I correct in C?
Yes, the 0.4 increase in lot coverage is the only one I'm willing to accept of those four requests.
Okay, so I'll look for a seconder on that motion. And seeing no seconder for the motion, that motion is denied. I'll look now to another member of the committee for another motion coming forward. I'm sorry, Mr. Zhang, we're in discussions on a motion at this point, so I cannot entertain any further comments. Stephen, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to minor variance application 2021 -08, I move that sections A, B be rejected on the basis that they do not meet any of the 4 tests of the minor variance application. And I move that sections C and D be rejected on the basis that they're not consistent with the official plan, that they did not meet the requirements of the zoning requirements, and that they do not represent appropriate development of the property, albeit being minor in nature.
Look to the committee for a seconder on the motion. Seconded by David. I will ask, are there any amendments? Seeing Michelle, did you want to make an amendment to the
If I
motion?
may, through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to propose an amendment to B, that the interior setback be at the existing setback at, I believe it's what, 2.2 meters?
On
Is
the
that
east side,
correct? 2.1, 2.2?
yeah, 2.1 on the east side.
Yeah,
Okay, we're gonna have to get a seconder for that, and if there is, it changes the main motion. So
I see.
I
Yeah, we have
simply
to
wanted
accept it.
to,
you're not amending it, you're completely changing.
Okay,
Yeah,
and if it is accepted, I recommend that any of the requirements be maintained if that one moves forward.
if there is a seconder. Prashanthi, can you
do I need
indicated
to back
something?
off on that? Do I need to back off and see if Steve's passes?
No, not yet. Prashanthi, you were trying to get my attention, I believe.
No, I wasn't, sorry.
Oh, okay. I looked like either, or was it you, Anna? I'm sorry.
It was me, Mr. Chair. I apologize. I just wanted to clarify, if committee decides to amend the side yard setback requirement, I just wanted to clarify, is that for the entire east side yard setback, or is it just for the portion that extends beyond the rear wall? Because that is the variance that
Yeah,
that is before us. It's just 3 meters for the portion that extends beyond the rear wall. So I just wanted to clarify.
that's correct. It would be just for the portion that extends beyond the rear wall.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So is there a seconder for that amendment?
Through you, Mr.
No.
Chair, I may be mistaken, but what I've seen of council meetings, if there is a recommendation to amend my motion, I believe that I can accept the amendment or reject it, and then
Or
gets
reject it.
voted, and then a new amendment would be brought forward.
Okay.
Okay. So Steve, I'm going to ask you if you would be amenable to that amendment.
And regrettably, I am not in this particular case.
Right. So that would fail, and we are back to the main motion, and I'll call the question, and I will ask if members of the committee are in favor of the motion as originally presented by Stephen. Okay, and that carries. So unfortunately, Mr. Zhang, the committee has taken the position and voted that none of the requested variances have been approved. We even talked about trying to look at amending one of those side yard setbacks for you. Unfortunately, that failed. So unfortunately, at this point, it would appear that you do have recourse. You can certainly talk the options over with staff. You can appeal this judgment from the Committee of Adjustment if you wish, or you can go back to the drawing board and see what you can do in order to bring your design into compliance with with the regulations as they are. So I thank you very much for your time and your energy and your detailed submission to the committee.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so
moving
much.
on to new business. I'll ask if there is any new business to be brought before the committee at this point. Staff, is there anything?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have no new business.
Okay, terrific. David, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to, to have confirmation from staff that Linda and myself are officially on board, because we heard the council is going to meet, and we just want confirmation. Isn't it true, Linda? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that you
My bad.
you certainly attended as observers in the last Committee of Adjustment, and now you are here as full members, and we welcome you certainly to the committee, and look forward to your wisdom and your thoughts and your participation in all of our meetings moving forward. So welcome. We have certainly more than quorum and more than a full complement.
Well, thanks
I
very
have
much.
nothing for the committee further, so I will look to the committee for a motion to adjourn. Linda, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn the meeting is accepted by the chair. We are adjourned, and thank you.
Thank you.